Similar
concept.
Similar.
Like maybe the numbers.
Maybe. Okay, solve each algebraically and identify the x-intercepts. Okay, so whenever we're solving algebraically, remember, probably the quickest, easiest way to do it, factoring. So I'm looking at A. Is there a greatest common factor in A?
6x.
Yeah, let's go 6x. So I'm going to need a 2, another x, and 6 times 3, of course, 18. So first give me this. What are the two solutions?
0 and
What?
3/2.
Perfect. Now, this is where you would be mad. If you left it like that yesterday, or tomorrow, tomorrow, I'd probably say like minus a half. Because
Rude.
Unacceptable.
What do you have to put?
what are the
0,
x-intercepts? How do you write the x-intercepts?
in an order pair?
Ordered pair. So
Why are you
0,
so
0.
picky?
And then what would be the second one?
3/2.
Yeah, perfect. So again, it's just making sure we know our vocabulary. Solutions, x-intercept style. Okay, let's do B. Now same thing. I'm going to try to factor on it. What's your GCF on B?
13x.
Like it. Perfect. Okay, so don't forget you need the 1 to hold the place there when you distribute. And 13 times 4 is 52. Now, we are after, of course, 3 total answers.
It wasn't me this time.
Yeah, it was. That's a lot.
Oh boy. When
Sorry,
you
Miss
set
Pryor.
13x squared equal to 0, and I'm going to solve that. You're going to divide by 13, but 0 over anything, of course, still 0. You do technically get 2 answers out of that, but they're both the same. Because you're going to have plus or minus 0. Let's just put 0 and make it easy. Because it doesn't say we have to list them all. If you want to list the repeat answers, sure. Okay, what fraction is this going to give you? Yep, you got it. Now remember, those are the solutions. It also wants the x-intercept. So we're going to put 0, 0, and we're going to put 1/4, 0.
I think calculator's gonna die.
Got it. All right, let's take a look at C.
Problem 5.
Now, I, of course, on this one, before I start solving and get my 2 answers, let's set it equal to 0, and I'm going to hope factoring is the key, too. Subtract your 20.
Prior, how do I know if it's charging or not?
You have to wait till I can look at it, Rachel. Okay, couple different ways you could solve this. You could complete the square. I don't know if I want to do that because you'd have to divide by 2. You could do quadratic formula, which we know is time consuming, but this does factor. I'm going to multiply those outside 2 numbers, 2 times -20. I'm just going to jot it on the side here. All right, let's see if you know your times tables. What multiplies to -40 and adds to -3? And which one needs the negative on it?
Negative 8.
Okay, key step, you have to divide them both by what now? 2. So that one's easy, -4, we can do it in our head. So my first factor, x minus 4. Fraction, of course, doesn't reduce or anything. Remember the denominator, the bottom goes first, and then the 5. So again, just vocabulary. These are the factors. What are the solutions?
4.
And negative.
2 5 seconds.
And now, of course, what are the intercepts?
More 0.
Yep.
-5.
Got it. And again, I don't care if you leave -5 halves or if you made it 2 1/2 there, fine. Same thing on this 3 halves. If you did 1 1/2, fine. Doesn't matter to me either. So take a look. Any questions on the directions, what you're supposed to do, etc. All right, next up. So write the equation in slope-intercept form of the line. Well, believe it or not, I'm teaching us some geometry on Thursday. Let's start with the slope. So I'm going to do some y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Careful of the signs, of course, as always. So we have 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, 1. Now, here's the next thing you have to take a look at. Are either of the points the y-intercept? No, because you don't have 0, comma. So you have to start it off in point-slope form. Doesn't matter what point you use, I'm going to do the first one. So I'm going to do y minus the y coordinate equals my slope, x minus the x. I'm going to make this a plus, of course. Now I want to get it into slope-intercept form, so we just have to solve for y, really. 1 times anything, of course, is just itself, and then I'm going to add the 6 over. So now if I asked you, bless you, what is the y-intercept, you would tell me it's what? And good on the ordered pair, 0, 10. Okay. All right, B, you guys are up. Give me the slope first. It shouldn't take much. 0. Because when you do y2 minus y1, 3 minus 3, 0 over who cares?
0.
Now, some of you might be able to, here's a hint, be able to go right to the answer.
Yeah.
Find or 0.
If you can't, pick your point like I did over here in the red, y minus the y coordinate, slope, x minus x. And of course, this all turns out to just be 0 on the right-hand side. And our final answer, we're just going to add the 3. Now, like I said, I could have skipped all of this blue work, and I knew from the ordered pairs it was going to be y equals 3, because,
They're both the same.
yeah. So you could have done that with very little work. Okay, C. All right, you guys are up. What's the slope? Give you a second. It's not nice.
Hey.
You know I love a fraction.
5, 12.
I know you love a friend.
Delio's right, you should get 5 over 12. Now, are either of the ordered pairs the y-intercept?
No.
No. I was like, oh, 0. Then I was like, wait a minute. That's the x-intercept, not the y. So I'm going to do point slope, of course, again. But you know, I'm going to use that because it's easy to calculate with the 0. So I'm going to do y minus the y coordinate, which, I mean, that's really just y, right? Our slope, x minus the x. Okay, y minus 0, super easy. Let's just make that y and let's distribute. Now, can we, without a calculator, I'm scared to even ask this question, can we multiply 5/12 times 8 without a calculator?
Yes.
The answer to that should be a yes, because you could do 40 over 12 and reduce it. If you don't want to do that, you could reduce the 8 and the 12. 4 goes into each of them. So we end up with
2/3.
10 over 3,
Three.
10/3. See, we don't need a calculator. We can do fractions. And of course, if I asked you for the y-intercept, what would you tell me? Y-intercept, what would you tell me in the purple? Negative 10/3, ordered pair, of course. Okay, well, let's talk about this graph. Now, can't you get really the vertex access to a lot of the info from your calculator?
Of course.
Of course. But it says, of course, you have to justify your work for the vertex. Now, there are 2 ways to do it. I'm going to show you, honestly, how I'd probably do it, but I'll show you an alternate way. So, first things first, what form is your equation in, vertex or standard? I don't know about you, but if I'm pinched for time, I don't want to complete the square and convert it. That takes a lot of work, and it doesn't say I have to. So remember, for standard form, you can use opposite of b over 2a to get that first coordinate of the vertex. I think I can calculate that pretty quick. Opposite of b, 2 times a. Oh, that's easy. Okay, what's negative 12 over 6?
-2.
Yeah. So there's the first coordinate of your vertex. How would you get the second coordinate?
Plug it in.
back
Plug it in, yeah. And I can't say as I would write work for that, okay? I would just do it in my calculator. I'm writing it out for you guys and the love of math. So I would just type that in my calculator. I wouldn't necessarily bother writing that out. I would just do it, punch it in. Anybody got it?
-5.
Perfect.
You still remember the answer?
I've done it a lot. Yeah, I got it. Now, let me show you this. I'm going to write this in a different color. Don't feel like you have to write this. If you're like, gosh, I'm just never going to remember opposite of b over 2a, you could complete the square. So you could rewrite f of x as y, subtract the 7, and go through the process of completing the square and put it into vertex form. I'm not going to get crazy and do it all, but just a reminder, you'd have to factor the 3 out and then find that new third term. Half of 4, 2, 2 squared 4. Don't forget that's really a 12 I put over there. And take it from that. If you like completing the square and you're like, I'm better at that than remembering opposite of b over 2a, be my guest. So we're going to have 5 here. I'm going to have x plus 2 quantity squared when I factor this, multiply to 4, add to 4. And then when you subtract 5 off, you can very easily see the vertex is -2, -5. So I don't care, it doesn't say you have to do a specific style to get the vertex. Personally, I'm gonna keep going, I'm gonna switch back to purple. I would do the purple because I do think it is less work, but I wanted to show you that too. Okay, axis of symmetry, make sure you have x equals, equation of a line, x equals what? Now, I have a feeling these x-intercepts, we're going to have to find them exact, so I'm going to table that for a quick second. Y-intercept. Now, that is the one thing I do like about standard form. I don't like a lot about it, but the one thing. Because if you put 0 in for x, cancel, it's 7. So I don't have to do a lot of work for that, okay? Okay, let's get the graph drawn. Now, personally, if I'm pinched for time, I'm on a test, I'm probably not going to do the t-chart by hand. I'd probably type that into my calculator and get a couple more points. I'm just going to jot down the t-chart over here. Of course, my vertex in the middle. So I'm looking for numbers on either side of -2. So I wouldn't even write this. I would just get this all off of my calculator. If you put -1 in for x and calculate it, you get -2. Okay, you don't have to do the work for that. So let's get it plotted. Now we all know my lack of artistic skills, okay? I'm going to do domain and range here in a minute. X-intercepts, are they nice whole numbers? And we're going to need exact answers. So again, I'm working off the original equation. I'm going to have to put 0 in there for y, and I'm going to have to figure out how to solve this. So x-intercepts, it doesn't matter if you work off the standard or the vertex form, it's work regardless. It's going to be work. Now that's not going to factor. Completing the square wouldn't be awful, but you'd have to divide by 3. You'll have a fraction there. I know how you guys feel about fractions. I would probably, let's just put it in a quadratic formula. So this is kind of the yuck part, of course, getting exact x-intercept. So opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b squared. I'm just going to go 144 on it. Minus 4 times a times c. All over 2a, 2 times 3. Okay, punch it in your calculator. Now, I punched it in earlier. Let's see what you got. Test the skills.
Square root of 60.
Perfect. Now, every year I have somebody's like, ooh, I'm going to reduce 12 and 6. Well, remember, that's a we got to be able to do all 3 whole numbers, so I'm going to table reducing for now. I'm going to work on the square root of 60. The biggest perfect square that goes into it is 4. 4 goes into it 15 times. So I'm going to square root 4. I'm going to make it 2 square roots of 15. And I'm running out of room. I really need to learn to write smaller. Okay, so I'm going to go back over there. Let's fill in the x-intercept because I'm out of room here. But I'm going to reduce all these whole numbers by 2. So I'm going to make that -6. I'm going to write it ordered pair style. I'm going to 2, of course, into itself once. I'm not going to put the 1. Let's just go square root of 15. And, of course, 2 goes into 6 3 times. So x-intercepts are going to be a pain whether you convert it into vertex form or keep the standard. And they just are, okay? Just a warning. All right, let's do domain and, of course, range. Range on here. So on the free response part tomorrow, I don't care how you say domain and range. If you're saying things like, oh, round number, you're good. On the multiple choice part, it is going to be an interval notation, though, so that's what I'm going to use on this one. Domain. How far left, how far right will your parabola cover? Perfect, because can't you put anything in there you want for x and square it and multiply and we'll get an answer? Sure. Okay, range. What is the lowest to the highest? What's the lowest? -5, highest. Got it. So again, I don't care if tomorrow you write like all real numbers or you say like y is greater than or equal to 5, whatever. But on the multiple choice part, those are an interval notation, just to note that. So glance at the front, any questions over the front. Now again, I'm going to be honest. Tomorrow's isn't quite this long, okay? Notice I made like an A, B, and C on some of the beginning ones just for some extra practice. Like these, okay? I got A, B, C, and D. So remember, the open little circles mean composition, not multiplication. Every year somebody multiplying. Composition, right into left. G into F. G into F. So you are replacing the x, the input, with 8 plus 4x. And then, of course, we're going to add 3. Well, that's not so bad. We can distribute. I don't like terms. This won't be a big deal. Let's just multiply it. 7 times 8, 7 times 4. And then of course I'm just going to total up my 56 and 3. That wasn't bad at all. Okay. Any questions on that guy? All right, let's do this guy. F into G. F into G. So the G function says we're going to have 8 plus 4 times the input, but we're replacing x with that whole f function, 7x plus 3. Of course, you know the drill, distribute, combine the like terms. 4 times 7, 4 times 3 is 12, and then I'm going to total 8 and 12 together. There's not a typo in the last two, and I have not lost my mind yet. F into F. Are you ready for that? Okay, so we are taking F and putting it into F. So look at your F function. It starts with the 7, but you're replacing x, you're replacing the input with the entire F function.
This is silly.
And then we have to add 3. And of course, same deal, distribute, you can take it from there. So 49x plus 21 plus 3. And let's just total up 21 and 3, of course, to 24. I know, I'm running out of room. I just don't want to scroll it because I want to keep those functions up there. All right, G into G. So G into G. So our G function, we've got 8 plus 4 times your input. But we're putting the whole G function in for the input. Again, distribute, combine the like terms, we got it. So I'm going to have 32 plus 16x. So let's just finish this one off to 16x plus 40. Got it. And the next one is for you, Gina. Let's do a word problem,
Is there gonna be a
shall
word
we?
problem on the test?
Not just doing it for fun today.
Why?
The word problem is easier than a lot of the stuff on the front, if you ask me. Okay, Camping Company sells the high intense for $465. I've never paid that, that's ridiculous. The cost per week is given by that equation. Key here. X is the number of tents sold. Okay, so I have a feeling we're probably gonna have to figure that out, right? Therefore, the profit is given by that model. Oh, determine the number of tents sold. So we have to solve for X, okay, in order to maximize the profit.
Put it in the calculator.
So first question for you, and I'm not opposed to that at all, but first question, am I working off the C equation or the P equation?
C equation. P.
P, profit, it says
Profit.
profit. So I'm gonna copy down the profit.
Profit.
Now this just bothers me, I'm gonna go ahead and run that negative through. Now, and again, this just bothers me, we're not in the correct order, so I am gonna rearrange it. Do you have to? No, but it just, you know, I can't sleep at night if I don't.
Oh, man.
Okay, now here are your choices. If you graph this, what shape is it?
Wrap.
That opens how?
Down.
Down. Rough sketch, rough sketch. Maximum,
Okay.
so we need the vertex. Now,
X value.
here's the deal. It depends on your graph, how good you are with your calculator. I see this 2000, I'm like, oh man, I'm probably gonna have to zoom out a lot in order to see it, which is fine, do it. Second, trace, maximum, and find it, okay? But I'm also like, oh man, this wants work for B. So I better know how to also do this by hand, especially it might be hard to see on the calculator. So I'm gonna use what we did on the front side. What form is this in, vertex or standard? Standard. So I'm just going to use that little opposite of B over 2A,
Ooh.
which I honestly think I can calculate quicker than typing this in my calculator. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Opposite of B
X equals the opposite of B.
over 2A.
Sweet, Sam.
Okay, punch that in.
$155.
Got it. 155 tenths, perfect. So which do you think is faster? To graph it or do opposite of B over 2A?
Opposite of B over 2A.
Yeah, mix, we got mixed reviews here, okay? But I'm worried, you know, cause this says show work. Now, even if I'm gonna do this opposite of B over 2A, I know I was super dramatic and rearranged this whole equation and wrote it out in perfect order. Do you need to even get carried away with that, or can you figure out just from the original one what opposite of B and 2A are? So you probably could even do less work than what I have up here. Okay, what is the profit? Show it out, show work, okay? Alright. Well, if X remembers the number of tenths, I'm just gonna put 155 in for X to get the profit. So here's my work. I'm gonna do negative 1.5 times 155 squared. Of course, we're gonna use our calculators to get the answer though. 465 times 155, and then minus 2,000. So that would be my work for it. Clearly, I'm doing the rest of my calculator. I'm gonna throw a dollar sign on since we're talking about money here. Punch it in. I forget the answer for this one. Should be like 34,000.
3750.
Got it. So, remember, the big packet is due Thursday. Tomorrow we're doing the 5 free response. And again, my pro tip of the day is always, I would look over this piece of paper we just did together tonight to prepare for the 5 free response. So you see what I'm saying?
I wonder if it's
You
the
got it?
same
You see what I'm
thing.
saying?